Very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to HR Labs pre-result bootcamp. And I see a lot of people who are already there in the previous session. So thank you and welcome back to our session. So सब लोगों की morning हुई है कि नहीं? So I want to see morning in the chat box. Guys, you there? Nice, nice, nice. Good morning. Morning, Astha. Great, great, great. So I can see a lot of energy today. Okay. So briefing you about today's session. So today's session is going to be on investment banking. Weekend Josh. क्या बात है शुभम. Great, great. इसीलिए on weekend I keep it at 11 o'clock and not at 10 क्योंकि सबको ऐसा रहता है weekend है आराम से उठेंगे. So that is why. Anyways, so briefing you about today's session. Today's session is going to be on investment banking. So investment banking ऐसा था पहले there used to be a case wherein only people from only from top IIMs and top B schools used to go. But these days there is trend के जो CAs हैं वो भी उसमें जा रहे हैं. Although the number is very less and as in very few of the CAs go over there, but still to understand more about the profile, what is what is done on ground on the in this profile, what are the challenges, and after qualification. So I am assuming that most of you have given your CA exams and your results are awaited. So how can you, if you plan to go in, investment banking in next 2-3 years, how can you plan it accordingly right now? Which profiles you should choose, which courses you should do, so that after 2-3 years you become eligible to go in investment banking. So we are going to discuss all these things right now, and also once you get into IB, what are the exit opportunities available. So for this, we have got Abhay Agrawal with me. He's a very good friend of mine. हम लोग अब I think it's been more than 10 years that we know each other. We did CA together, and so from Indore we were also used to study together in Indore and then in Mumbai. So welcome Abhay, welcome to today's webinar.
Hi, Dinesh. Hi, everyone else. Thank you for having me. So, yeah.
Yes, yes. So, so let's start the discussion. So, first of all, for the audience, I would like you to tell about your career journey. How has been your journey? About your articleship, your CA final, and then any other courses that you did, and how you got into IB.
Sure. So, just to start from the scratch. So, I also come from Madhya Pradesh, as obviously you know. So, I did my schooling in my hometown, which is near Jabalpur. It's a place called Amarkantak. So, very small place. I studied till 12th in that same place and same school. And post that, obviously, as everyone decides to take certain career option, I decided that CA being such a reputed career or reputed profession, I should go and make a career in this field. And that's when I decided to come to Indore and started my CA journey by taking the CT exams and then IPCC exam. That's where we met as well. Post my IPCC, I obviously got an opportunity to decide that where I should, pursue my articleship, and that's when, as with you again, I decided to come Bombay and do my articleship here. And obviously, I had an opportunity and luxury to get into Book 4 because of my rank in IPCC. So I decided to, join Deloitte in their statutory audit department. Um, that's where I got first flavor of all these niche courses and career options going forward. And once I cleared CA in 2016, I decided to work for a couple of years in specific field like audit and M&A advisory and financial due diligence. So I got a flavor of different profiles, different career options. Before that, it was mainly a narrow view, but after working in these different fields, I kind of had a good idea about different career options. And at that point I thought it makes sense to pursue something else. So I enrolled for two things in parallel. Actually, I started working studying for CFA, and I also started studying for CAT. I cleared CFA level 1 along with my CAT exams, and I also got an admission from IIM Ahmedabad. So I decided to drop CFA and go for my MBA. That was in 2018. So I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad from 2018 to 2020. Took different courses, not restricting myself to any field, any particular field. I took and studied about different courses, say strategy, finance, etc. And post my MBA and during my MBA as well, I interned with Bank of America in their investment banking division. And after like completing MBA, I joined City Investment Banking, worked there for a couple of years, and then right now I'm working in an investment office.
Got it, got it. So, as in points to pick up from the career, Abhay's career is one is explore all the opportunities, explore many fields, because nobody is clear, just after clearing CA, nobody is clear that, okay, this is the profile I want to go in. So, try to try all the profiles, as in most of the profiles, and then you will understand, okay, this is not for me, this is not for me, or maybe you will understand that, okay, this is the profile I want to continue with. So one tip that you can take it is try all the options in the initial period of time. Okay, so once you got into IB, what was the on ground work that IB analyst does?
Sure. So, I mean, as you correctly mentioned, right? So, it's very important to have experience from different verticals. And that is something which is required in investment banking as well. So, for example, my experience in statutory audit or M&A due diligence really helped me in, securing investment banking, first of all. And secondly, like work properly, understand each and every nitty gritty of the job which is required, deal with all the stakeholders. So investment banking is a challenging job, as almost many of you all would any which way know. In investment banking, what generally happens is you have different work streams, but basically it's a field of finance, and your roots as a CA really help you in doing the work properly. So first is obviously you need to know what you're supposed to do, and second is how well you do it. First category is always held by your CA profession. So for example, when investment banks go out and hire even from MBA colleges, they would see that if you have a background in finance or not, and that comes mainly through either say BCom in a reputed college, or say through chartered accountancy exams, etc. And I personally, what my experience has been that if you go out on the street and ask different investment bankers, they would prefer to have a CA plus MBA and not just an MBA. So CA really makes a difference because you have worked, you have done your articleships, probably you are well versed with at least all the financial statements, certain basics of finance, and that's what you incorporate in your job. Investment bank in particular, they do different kind of work. So it's, I mean, you may have some narrow idea, but probably if I have to bucket say investment banking job, it's either in say private side and in public side. In private side, obviously, as we know that there are say VC deals, for example, all these new startups, right? You They keep on taking new funding, or say for example, one of the investor wants to get out, new investor wants to invest. Investment banker is basically a mediator or broker between all these transactions. Similarly, on the large companies side, where you have like private equity funds invest into say some company or buy out some other existing investors. So those are the transactions on the private side where investment banker comes in. They act as mediator and broker. And on the public side, obviously you have different products, right? For example, equity, debt. On equity side, you might do say IPO, rights issues, etc. So different work on the equity side. On debt side, so probably you are helping in raising new bonds or help. So obviously you don't do loans, etc., because that's generally bank's job and not investment bank. But for example, raising new bonds, listing bond instruments, etc. In all those work streams, investment banks come into picture and they help their clients. On job, what analyst is supposed to do is once you enter in a very beginner level, you are kind of sole person working on the entire transaction. So investment banking team is very lean. It's not that it's very unlike big fours. For example, if you are doing a big four audit of say a listed company, generally 10-15 people would be involved, going into different plant location, etc. In investment banking, generally only 3 to 4 people would be involved, even if it's like a $1 billion transaction. And generally, those would be of different level. For example, your top end MD, etc., would be involved only in relationship building, reviewing materials, etc. Bottom 1 or 2 levels would be involved in making all the materials, all the models, etc. So every core work of the transaction flows down to the analyst. Now, as an analyst, what you are supposed to do is, manage the entire transaction from a doer's perspective. So you are not reviewing, you are not like primarily handling the client. You might handle the mid-level executive or say CFO, etc. of the client, but not directly with everyone. As a analyst, you would be basically helping and preparing all the materials from the scratch. So materials could be, say you have to pitch to any client, so it could be a pitch deck. If you have to work on any transaction, so you're preparing say information memorandum of the company that you are going and to different people and saying, okay, this company wants to sell 20% stakes. Say for example, Grofers wants to sell say 20% stakes. So you make entire document pitch around Grofers and then go out to different investors. You make the whole model about Grofers. Say for example, where are different revenue streams coming from, what's their future potential, and then you also do the valuation exercise. So for example, someone would say, what's the worth of Grofers at the first place. So all that entire work stream, which would be required in that transaction, is handled by an analyst, and that's where the exposure is as well, right? So you, because you are involved in each and every facets of the work, you learn about each and everything, and that's how you grow in the system as well.
Got it, got it. So, points to be picked up from this conversation would be that so there are two sides of IB. There is private side and public side. Basically, if we can bucket it. So, private side, you assist the companies which who wants to acquire any other company in valuation, in preparing brief about the company, investment thesis, and all those things. And on the public side, if a company wants to go public, like bring their IPO, so you assist them in guiding them on what are the steps to be taken, and assisting them in that way. So basically, you are a broker, and basically you deal with companies, like buying and selling of different companies and shares, basically ownership of that company. Got it. So so
Just to
suppose if
cut you off,
somebody, yes, yes.
I think there was one interesting question from Sagar. I
Mhm.
don't know if you are taking questions afterwards,
Yes,
but there
yes,
was
we
one
can take it.
interesting question.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
said, at a beginning level, how analyst does all this, does IB train you? So there are some bits of training, but generally it is expected that you know your basics. You are someone who has some exposure of finance. For example, when you are entering, they would really like to assess that you follow markets, you follow stock exchanges, say general, uh, all the general things which happen in world of finance. So it's not just that say technical accounts of finance very well, but you don't have any understanding of general what's happening in the market. So it's like a combination of all that. So you know certain basics, and after entering into IB, there are certain level of training, but not very aggressive. Uh, what you learn is actually majority of your learnings is on the job, technicals, etc. You learn in your CA curriculum, for example, SFM, etc., which is the course in the CA final. You learn quite a lot from that course, but you don't know the practical applications. You apply the learnings in practical, say some bit of your own when you're preparing for IB, etc. You would probably try and do some valuation exercise independently, go out and meet different people who are working in that field, and then try and test that whatever you have done is making sense or not. And then so you develop some bit of arsenal of your skill sets on your own, and then once you join, there is little bit more honing through the training and then actual learning on the job.
Got it. Got it. Fair enough. So, coming to the next question is, being a CA, how can we get into investment banking profile? Do we have to do any other courses, or would you recommend anything, certifications? How can we get?
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, different things are helpful, obviously. First, so generally what is required in investment banking, I try to link your preparation with what is required. Now, say you require modeling, you require knowledge of finance, you require what's happening in the market. Some bit of preparation you can do on your own. For something you might need some external help. I think especially for CAs, majority of learnings and majority of, I think, tick in the box comes from your curriculum itself. So I really feel that CA really helps, and CA plus say work experience in audit or M&A, financial due diligence, etc., really helps to you to create that skill set and arsenal of things that you will require in the IB interview. Uh, for example, for example, you really need to know about financial statements, because generally once you start in the investment banking, someone will come and drop. So, okay, my company has these financial statements, and just go and prepare model, go and prepare the pitch deck, go and prepare whatever. So, if you have very fair understanding of accounts, at least you have, you are very sharp in that, and you can exactly replicate. You don't really need to go out and understand. Someone from say engineering background, or someone from say just BCom background, who has not done a lot of work in audit, would not understand nitty-gritties of finance, or they may understand, but they will take some time to learn about it and learn and grow. And then your curriculum in SFM will really help you in about knowing that, okay, what's different valuation models, relative valuation, what are different ratios, P ratio, EV, EBITDA, multiple ratios, what are different technical models, for example, discounted cash flow. How would, so you would have fair idea about how discounted cash flow works, what is the thesis behind it, what's the core behind it, how can you value a company using their cash flows. So what is the method, what is the small things that you need to be careful about, say for example net debt, or say any technical challenge. So you would have that portion of skill sets covered from your CA plus your articleship, or say your job experience. Second is your interest in finance per se. For that, I would say you really need to have an interest from inside, and not just for the job perspective. So how you value such that is, so how much time do you spend on money control or economic times, how much time do you spend in tracking say a few particular sectors or stocks. For example, I am really passionate about one sector, which could be say cement sector, or say banking industry. So I really need to know what's happening in banking industry, what are different companies in different banks, uh, say housing finance companies, NBFCs, proper traditional banks, PSU banks, private banks, uh, what's generally good about each one of them, what's bad about each one of them, how are they valued in the NSE BSE right now, on what basis they are valued. So how much time I have spent in knowing about that industry, and how much time I've spent in valuing that particular any particular company within that industry. And that I can obviously do with from certain sources, right? For example, I can just read up a lot about them in Economic Times, Money Control. I can also download equity research reports from certain sources and read those to build my knowledge of that particular industry. Uh, So that's where your practical exposure comes. And third, as you said, there could be a couple of certifications which I don't really believe in, but probably say if you really don't have any idea about modeling, you learned about valuation only in SFM, but you really did not pay attention to it. You did not have a chance to work in say M&A department or audit department, and handling a large client. Suppose you're working in tax, so you don't really know accounts that well, or say properly handling financial statements that well, and you think that there might be certain more uh, uh, that you can do to make that skill, then you can go and do some financial modeling courses. I think there are a couple of couple of courses out there. Probably all these new startups, upgrade, etc., would be offering some of that. But yeah, I mean, that really depends on which background you are coming from. For example, someone from audit background like me, audit and financial due diligence, I did not really need any help in modeling. But someone, for example, who's working in tax and wants to get a hang of modeling, they can really take these financial courses, financial modeling, etc. Apart from that, I don't think so any skill set is required. CFA probably, I generally tend to think that either it's CA plus CFA or CA plus MBA. So CFA could be a good additional degree, but I don't think so. At least in first level of CFA, you don't really learn anything which you have not learned in CA. So there could be certain things. CFA is more relevant for equity research, etc., not particularly for investment banking. For investment banking, it's good if if you have CA plus MBA, and there are certain cases if you just have CA, then also with relevant experience and relevant checklist that you might build through your own, you can get into investment bank. So I don't think so there is any one particular degree or education course that could get you inside investment banking. It's a combination of things. You can develop those just as CA with another degree, or with even just a BCom student can get into investment banking. It's more about developing those skill sets.
Got it, got it. So, as in, crux of this point could be that if you want to get into investment banking, either you have all these skills like reading financial statements and all these things during your articleship, or post articleship, as in post qualification in audit and mergers and acquisitions, so that you have a hack of what all things are going on. Plus, your practical application, like you should have you'll have to show in interview that you are actually interested in that, like reading newspaper, reading about the companies, researching about the companies, preparing models. And some of the courses that could help is financial modeling course, and there are some organizations which also are coming up with investment banking courses. So maybe if you've not done things seriously, you've not read things seriously in your CA exams, then you can go for those courses as well. Fine. So my next question would be, what are the perks of getting into investment banking? What are the things for which which after going into IB people would like, and why people would want to go in IB?
So I mean, it's more of a personal choice. I think one way I look at it is, investment banking is not probably right for everyone. And with that, what I mean is probably, it's more of that cult feeling, that niche feeling people get, which drives people to go for investment banking, and not, some inherent interest. For example, I know a lot of people who want to get into investment banking just because they have heard from different sources that oh, my friend is an investment banker. It's very well covered in different kind of movies. So, people get excited watching Wolf of Wall Street, etc., and think that oh no, I want to be investment banker. So I think it's not that interest and that desire to go into banking should not come from those aspects, and should come from from within. It's like if you have learned CA, if you have worked in that particular field, and then you really want to make a career in that, you understand that particular job, what's required, what are exits, what are different career options, and then you want to do it, then I think it's a justified exercise. Otherwise, if it's coming just from because my friend is doing, or say I've read or heard about it and it sounds very fancy, then I don't think so it's like, a perfect place to be. Now, having said that, obviously there are perks, and perks come into different, in different buckets and in different shapes. One is obviously investment banking is supposed to be very high paying. Now, when I say that, obviously, there are disclaimers in that as well. For example, investment banking can be with any bank, right? You can do investment banking in foreign banks, for example, large US banks, Citi, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, etc. uh, you can do investment banking in Indian private banks. For example, Axis, Kotak, or all of these specific niche focus investment banks also. And there are investment banking divisions in PSU banks also. So, for example, any bank who's doing any banking activity would be doing investment banking activity. If you are in, say, Morgan Stanley, Goldman, etc., you are probably getting paid a lot. If you are in Axis, etc., you are paying paid decently, but not as fancy as, say, for as these foreign banks. If you are in PSU bank, then probably you are getting as much as, say, Big Four. So it's not like one size fits all that investment banking is high paying. So it really depends on which kind of investment bank and what's your role. For example, in investment bank, you might have a front office role, you might have a mid office role, you might have a back office role. Mid office and back office role, even in the large reputed, US banks, they are not getting paid a lot. They are getting paid decently. For example, something which a Big Four person with 2 or 3 years of experience might be getting. So it's really, you really want to understand that what you need to be, say, front office, what you need to be at some decent Indian bank or foreign bank, and that's where the high perks kick in. Second big perk, which I feel is more relevant for anyone who's starting out, for anyone who's starting out, should not look at money as first goal, should look at what kind of exposure they are getting. So, main biggest perk is the exposure in investment banking is towards finance. So after CA, what different career options you have is, say you go and make a career in audit, which can help you in, say, your private practice, which can help you in making a career, say, climbing down in some firm or Big Four, etc. You can make a career in tax. You can, do very well in direct or indirect taxes, etc. You can make a career in, say, software side. You are doing ISCA related things. You can also have a career in finance, and in finance you have different fields, right? For example, you can do equity research, you can do finance plus CA related stuff. For example, financial due diligence, or say, taxation in mergers and acquisition. So those kind of things. And investment bank is one another avenue which really would help you in making a career in, say, uh, investment side. So obviously, investment banking right now is a broker or mediator, but the exits could be, you are working in, say, venture capital or private equity, or you are exiting and working in strategy teams or large corporates who would have their own investment banking division. For example, Reliance, etc. Right? You have, these are such large companies, they keep on doing mergers and acquisitions, some IPO of some of their own companies, and they're also an investment banker can go and work. So this is like a facet of finance, which opens because of your job in investment banking. And that's where I think the biggest perk is. For example, if you are really passionate about doing this particular stream of work, then it's a good place to start, because it gives you exposure, it gives you uh, idea about different industries. So, for example, if you're working on 4 different transactions in 4 different industries, you would know about four industries. So it really opens up your dimensions and your learnings into different venues of, say, industry or finance or about specific companies, and could also help you in making career later on in the world of investing or in world of large corporates handling their M&A practices. So that's the biggest perk. And obviously, second is compensation.
Okay. So just follow up questions, like you mentioned that there are Indian banks who have this practice. There are also PSU banks, and there are back office and middle offices of foreign banks. So, how easy or difficult is it? So if I'm not getting directly into bulge bracket banks, how easy or difficult would be to first go in, these either back offices or Indian IBs, and then trying bulge bracket banks?
So interesting question. So it's very person to person driven. What I've seen is people moving from mid office to front office. What I've seen is people moving, definitely people moving from Indian banks to foreign banks. That happens all the time. So for example, you have niche bank like Avendus. You have in domestic banks, few of them have very good reputation. For example, Axis or Kotak. Kotak is very well known for capital market transactions. So from these specific banks moving to bulge bracket banks, that keeps on happening. From mid office, what you can do is obviously say a couple of years you worked in say mid office of JP Morgan. From there you can switch to either front office of Indian bank and then go to front office of for bulge bracket banks, or you can directly jump from mid office to bulge brackets. They keep on having these 6 months internships also. For example, City had it, JP Morgan has it, that they will call for someone from mid office team to work in their front office for 6 months. And then you can enroll for it and do that 6 months stint. If you can handle that pressure and that front office team also likes you, then they can get you on board on a full-time basis. So that also happens. Or sometimes, after working for 2 years into middle office, what you realize is, I've gained all the skill sets. It's not different from what a front office person would do. So I any which way know everything that a front office person is doing. I'm just doing it for say European and US based client. So exactly, I mean, just to make it clear, middle office is not someone who's helping front office. Middle office in India is basically uh, those teams who are helping teams in US or Europe. And why that happens is US and Europe obviously those are front end markets, labor rates etc very high. So what they do is they keep a team in India who are helping, especially on the junior level side, who are helping in making all these materials, models, etc. And those models are being used in US or say London etc uh, for the client presentation. So the generally the work largely remains same. It's just that you're not working on Indian clients. Probably you're working only on say European clients or clients based in China or US or LATAM, etc. So after working for 2 years in mid office, you probably realize that at a junior level, whatever skill sets were required, I've already acquired those. And for me, it does not make sense now to go and work in front office again. What I can do is I can go and directly look out for jobs in some buy side funds, probably a small India based private equity or a small VC. So I can obviously decide and do that as well. So it's really about, there are different permutation and combination in how one can switch from mid office to front office or Indian bank to bulge bracket. Not everyone's goal is to switch from one of these places to another as well. Different people have different goals. So for example, if I would have been in mid office, I would probably not look to go to a front office, but probably look to switch geography. So a lot of people go with that thought as well, that okay, let me go in JP Morgan mid office, work on say 2 or 3 US deals, and then I get a lot of US deals on my CV. I make connects in US, then let me try and go and work in US, either in investment bank or say probably in some fund or say in some corporate. So I can do that as well. If I really want to shift to United States or say Europe, for me, right place would be to go and work in middle office and not front office.
Okay, okay, got it. So one more question from the audience is, firstly, do these investment banks hire CA freshers?
Okay, so they definitely do. There are different, check in the box that needs to be present. For example, CA fresher per se is not a deal breaker for anyone. Obviously, CA is a very reputed degree and everyone in market knows about it. What really would matter is, for example, how well you have done in CA. It could be through academics, through scores, through your articleship. In articleship also, what different people have different preferences. For example, if you have done say 2 years in audit and 1 year in tax, or 1 year in say industrial training in some finance related firm, for example equity research, or for example M&A advisory, then you are really checking in the box for an investment bank, and they won't have any problem going for CA fresher. Quite a lot investment banks also have CA internship programs. So what they do is, they have different tiers, right? For example, analyst has a 3 year cycle: analyst one, analyst two, analyst three. An MBA graduate from say IMA joins as analyst two in a lot of investment banks. A CA joins as analyst level one, and for analyst level one, what they have is, they will call for CA freshers. They will make them do work for 6 months. If they really like the work, they will extend that for 6 months more, and then if they really think that this person is fit and has learned everything that was required, they will put them along with all their IMA hires as well. So it's different firms or different banks will have different policies. But as a CA fresher, one can get into investment bank or not. That's not a straight away yes or no. What is required is, if you have all the checklists, if you can prove in your interview that you are very passionate, you know everything, you have worked towards getting into investment banking, not just like by clearing CA, but also by doing other things. For example, learning about sectors or doing some financial modeling course, or say by clearing CFA level 1 and 2 along with CA as well, right? For example, you obviously know that people in different places of India, they tend to do CA also and CFA level 1 and level 2 along with their articleship as well. So for example, if I am someone who has cleared CA, also has CFA level 2 cleared, and have done my third year of articleship with some industrial training in equity research, then I don't really need to have any additional thing to go and pitch my case to an investment bank. So, and I think if with right efforts, right network, right interview skills, and right convincing, I think I might get into any investment bank of my choice also.
Okay. Okay. So suppose if I'm a CA and I have all these things like I've done CFA, two levels of CFA, and I was good academically as well. So how can I approach these banks, because they don't come in campus placement? So how can I apply for these vacancies? From where all I can apply?
So obviously, there are different avenues. For example, you could be one of the very good place as well, right? For example, you have network within the investment banking community, private equity community. So you can definitely help some of these people. And for example, just like HR lab, probably there are other venues. For example, if someone knows me directly, right, and someone I know that okay, he is very good candidate, and if I forward his CV to any investment bank, they will not say that okay, no, what a bullshit CV this is. This person is not fit. If I really think this person is fit, probably if I forward that person's CV to investment bank and they have a vacancy at that point in time, they would be happy to interview that person as well. So it's different avenues. Consulting firms can help, who help in recruitment, directly contacting with people in investment bank, and checking with them that this is what I have done, really passionate about doing this. This is how I've prepared myself to work in challenging environment of investment banking, and I know all the skill sets, and I have really worked hard in developing all these skill sets. I really want to interview. Then that person, if they have vacancy, so it's like supply and demand, obviously. If they have vacancy, they can really put their case in front of seniors in the team. And if seniors also like the candidates, CV, they will obviously call them for interview, or they might even think that, okay, there are different people out there, right? For example, one investment banks, one senior would say, no, we don't want to hire fresher. We really want someone who has a couple of years work experience at least. Uh, and that, I would be someone like that, that it does not matter you have an experience, say either through MBA or engineering background or CA background, but I would really like someone to have 1 or 2 years of experience, say in field of audit or M&A advisory or tax, etc. Because then I know that apart from articleship also, this person has really worked in a professional environment and has taken ownership of their job, and then I'm more comfortable with dealing that person. uh, so that would specifically a person choice. A different person can have different approach looking at same CV. But yeah, I think one avenue is consulting firm. Second avenue is directly reaching out to people. Say if you know someone, if you don't know someone, then going on, and doing LinkedIn hunt. And when I say LinkedIn hunt, it does not mean that you go out and spam everyone in LinkedIn who says Citibank, 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 Citibank. So it does not work like that. You really have to be very professional. Uh, Take their time if they are not free. Some people I've also seen doing some work and posting on LinkedIn. For example, I knew this undergrad engineering candidate who really did role model of HDFC Bank, and put it out on LinkedIn for free that I want opinion about my model. He then did almost like 15-20 discussion with different people, that why this assumption is correct, why this assumption is not correct, what he thought when he was building this model. So that would help in two ways, right? First, obviously, it is helping him in sharpening his own skill sets. He would have prepared model as a beginner, but when he was finishing that exercise, he knew so many other nitty-gritties that he could not have guessed on his own. And second, it helped him in making relationship and network within the investment banking or say investing world community, and then taking that forward as uh, you know by showing that I have interest, I have prepared this model, and I have write CV as well. And then if there is an opportunity, people would reach out to him, and that's how he got his internship with one of the banks. So I mean, that's the typical way. You be very professional, either go out and take help of recruitment firms, or reach directly to people in the bank, or do these kind of exercises which really flags you off as very potential good candidate.
Got it. Fair enough. So, a last question from my side. What are the challenges, that a particular person might face once he or she gets into IB?
Yeah. So, I mean, multiple challenges, I think. Uh, I mean, I would say it's one of the most rigorous job. Uh, there could be other jobs which require more rigor than investment bank, but I haven't come across any. And it's not just about rigor, right? It's about managing everything together. Uh, so first is obviously different investment banks can have different work hours, but quoting from my experience, especially in bulge brackets, you can expect to clock in anywhere between say 90 to 110, and in some weeks even more. So just assuming say a fair number of 96 hours a week, or say 100 hours a week, that would practically mean like 16 hours for 6 days. So you start at 9 a.m., finish at 2 or 3, and that typically goes on from Monday to Saturday. Then you have certain breather on Sunday, but on Sunday also you end up working say 3-4 hours, doing some admin work, or handling some stuff. And these are hours spent on job. And then you have additional things like handling your own personal growth, etc. For example, you want to do some of your own work. You want to do your own investing alongside. Obviously you're not allowed to do investing, that's a different matter. But if say you want to select and learn about more about mutual funds, so if you have to file your own income tax, right, you don't really have time to do that because your work hours are really challenging. So first is that rigor. Second is obviously after going into investment bank, if you don't have the right amount of skill sets, then you are really challenging. For example, some of my counterparts probably has certain skill sets by which he is able to do the work in 3 hours. I'm taking 7 hours to do the same work. Then it is a challenge for me, and then I really need to learn and grow very fast, because if I don't develop those skills, I would keep on struggling in the system. And that's where diversity really helps, right? And that's where your past work experience really helps. If I'm a CA, probably I've seen some of work that I do is faster than someone who's coming from MBA and engineering background. That's my practical experience. If I see them working on something and really working fast on say certain pieces which I am struggling with, because I have not dealt in that those kind of situations. So it's really about your past work ex. Then once you enter, obviously based on your weakness you can have other challenges. For example, someone who's introvert, probably it's too much of an exercise to directly go and sit in front of CXOs of the companies, especially in front office roles. What happens is, as soon as you enter investment banking, say within first month or second month, you are sitting in a meeting which will have a CEO of say thousand or multi-thousand crore companies, CEO, CFO, head of strategies, etc. And when you're sitting there, obviously there is a set expectation from you that you are very professional, you are very, you don't come, you cannot ask stupid questions in those kind of situation, right? So you really need to pre-study certain things, you really need to be very professional. So if I am going in a meeting with Ultratech, I don't want to be not knowing about cement industry and not knowing about Ultratech in particular. So I really need to do my homework before I sit in any of these meetings. And that particular thing is always self-initiated and self-exercised. So no one will tell me that so obviously there would be certain level of preparation before going for any meeting, which as a firm you do, but or as a bank you do. But there is additional bit is whatever comes from you personally. So for example, as a firm or as a bank, I might prepare a pitch deck where I have different things about Ultratech, about people I'm talking to, etc. But I really want to know who I'm speaking to. I really need to know about their background. So I would go on LinkedIn and then do whole screening of that person before actually going in meeting. So and that's where the whole relationship building skill set is also at play. So for an introvert, probably going and doing investment banking directly might have certain challenges. So I think challenges particularly are more person specific. Apart from work hours, which is constant for everyone, work hours and rigor is everyone struggles with that. So that's part and parcel of the job. But other challenges would depend on your skill sets and your weakness. If you are someone who's introvert or struggle with finance, probably you are you have certain additional challenges. If you are someone who is not struggling with these kind of things, probably the only challenge is that you are working extra hours. Uh, that's, and I think some people are more comfortable with public transactions. Some people are more comfortable with debt transactions. Some are more comfortable with private transaction. So those are obviously nitty gritties. But I think learning curves is any which way very steep in these kind of roles, and you keep on learning inside on the job. So it's not that I don't think so anyone should take go in with that kind of mental barrier that these are challenges, so how would I cope with that? Everyone is coping with all of these things, and I mean that's the part of learning as well. So I don't see these challenges as deal breaker, but probably one should be mindful that they would be expected to clock in a huge number of hours, and that's, I think, foremost among all other challenges.
Got it, got it. So, just a few questions from the audience. We can give short answers. So, one is, would CA attempts matter in IB? Somebody's got more than one or two attempts.
Might matter in front office big banks, uh, might not matter in small banks or uh, you know, so one or two extra attempts, but other things in the place. For example,
Hmm.
CFA industrial training. I don't think so. It will matter a lot. But yeah, I mean, if you have proper explanation, then everything is fine. It's more about justification in interview.
Okay. Which is better, mid office or big bulge bracket or boutique IB? Samsung, I think it is very well clear. Like it also all depends upon where do you want to go. Obviously, people want to go into uh, big bulge bracket. Uh, okay. Are there risks from employment side since dealing with stocks is risky? Again, money. I think I can also answer this. Right. There are two parts, Abhay, is this employment like risky? Like people get kicked out easily, or how is it in
Yeah.
IB?
So I mean, yeah, I mean generally, no, as a funny concept, there are two things what we call as career limiting move and career terminating move, CLM
Hmm.
or CTM in short. If you make some mistakes which is not affecting bank in long term, probably it's called career limiting move. Your promotions are delayed. But if you make like a big mistake which is not expected out of you, yeah, you can be asked to go as well. And especially when you grow, you have different kind of pressure. For example, once you are VP or director, you really are supposed to get more clients on board. If you fail to get more clients, you are really not justifying the huge paycheck that you are getting. So at that point, everyone any bank would ask you to leave because you have to get revenue for the bank.
Okay. So, what would be a better route to go? Like, if I want to go into big bulge bracket, this thing bank, FDD after clearing, or going into a boutique IB firm.
If you want to go into bulge IB, probably both of these are good. With boutique IB, depends on which kind of boutique. So, for example, if it's Access Kotak, which are not really boutique, uh, then your chances are high. But if you say go to a very short bank, investment banking is subjective term any which way, right? So if you go in very small place who are doing like project financing and calling that investment banking, then there is no chance. So depends on the quality of boutique and what you do alongside it. So if you think that after doing boutique, after doing FDD, you're not making direct headways, then you might decide to go for an MBA and then go for a bulge bracket IB.
Madhushri, fund accounting can nowhere help you in getting into IB. So fund accounting will not help. Uh, Attempts we have already discussed. Dummy articleship, no, never. There's
I
no
don't think so.
chance.
Dummy articleship is even worth for any kind of post CA job.
Right, right. Due diligence to IB, yes. Abhay is a good example. You can switch from TD to IB. Okay, so I think we have covered most of the questions, and we've also the time is up. So thank you, Abhay. Thanks a lot for this session, and I think it would have helped a lot of people, and busted a lot of myths among people. So thank you so much. And for all the audience, if you have any doubt, you can reach out to me. I'll try to answer, and in case I need anything from Abhay, I'll ask him and answer to you. So I'm there on WhatsApp as an admin, so you can reach out to me, you can send me. So thank you, Abhay. Thanks a lot. It was really nice having you here.
Thank you, Jinesh. I think, yeah, I really enjoyed having this discussion and probably it helped people on this Zoom. Yeah, and obviously, as you said, if anyone has any question, obviously, I think most of it you would be able to answer because you know everything about this role. But in case if I can be of any further help, happy to.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.